Welcome, everyone. I'm Kaylee Holtgren, Chief Group, Group Content Manager of Chief Marketer. Welcome, everyone. Our webinar today is Loyalty Marketing, your key to unlocking zero and first-party data. As marketers, you've probably heard a lot about the impending phase-out of third-party cookies. I know I have. But we don't talk about the strategic and actionable ways to mitigate those kinds of challenges often enough. So that's what we're going to do today. I will get to introductions shortly, but our impressive guest speaker list will take us through how we can use loyalty programs to collect the right data and future-proof our marketing, all while enhancing our customer experiences. Just a note for all the attendees, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A section. And if we have time at the end, we'll get to as many as we can. So let's get started with introductions. Mary, let's see the next slide here. Wonderful. Mary leads Forrester's customer loyalty coverage, helping B2C marketing professionals navigate the challenging landscape of loyalty technology and services. Her research focuses on loyalty strategy, loyalty programs, consumer trends, and much more. Mary has over 20 years of experience in retail banking and investments, and prior to becoming VP Principal Analyst, led a team of analysts as a VP and research director at Forrester. We're very fortunate to have her speaking with us today. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here.
Tamara is Vice President of Loyalty and CX and is part of Epsilon's CRM Loyalty Strategic Insights Consulting practice. She has 20 years of loyalty, CRM, and communications experience as both the client and the consultant. Tamara joined Epsilon in 2016 to lead loyalty design efforts for General Motors' new enterprise-wide My Rewards program, and now works with a variety of brands across various industries to design, evolve, optimize, and manage their customer loyalty strategies. Welcome, Tamara.
Thank you. Welcome to everybody here.
So without further ado, I will let our speakers take it away, and we will start with Mary.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Today, the agenda is all about data strategies, but I'll talk about the pillars of a loyalty strategy first, and then how you approach zero-party and first-party data. We'll talk a little bit about loyalty program gamification, and then measuring and proving your ROI for loyalty. And as was said, we'll have time for questions. So, the key pillars of a loyalty strategy, when you think about it, customers generate a ton of data very quickly, but determining which data to capture and track is a challenge. And even harder is actually taking action from this data. But loyalty companies understand their customers. Companies who really are embedded with loyalty, they understand their customers, and they're not just a function of their purchase behavior. So when you think about it, are your customers a blur, or do you understand what they want and need? So the first step here is you need to create a loyalty strategy that focuses on these three dimensions. You need to shift your approach to really understanding the customer, what makes them tick, how they feel about their brand, their motivations, and why they are loyal to the brand. And the customer behaviors are, the first piece of this. And these are actions that your customers actually take to maintain their relationship with your brand. It includes things like program enrollment and activity, referrals, participation in customer community, social engagement. And it's important to capture these behaviors to provide a wider view into your customer's attention. The customer emotions are critical as well. This is how the customer feels when they actually have an experience with your brand. And they're important because emotions drive behavior. So how a consumer feels about your brand will drive what they do with your brand. So it's important to establish a baseline with customer sentiment analysis or other survey-based methods. We're even getting into some newer technologies like facial and voice analysis to understand the customer's emotions. Then the third piece is the customer perceptions. And this is really understanding what your customer prefers, what their interests are, and how they want to interact with you. So zero-party data is particularly helpful in improving the value you deliver for your loyal customers, whether it's through personalization, exclusive experiences, or new product and service offerings. So once you have this stronger understanding of your customers, who they are as people, and why they're loyal to you in the first place, you can cultivate this culture of loyalty. Loyalty is an enterprise-wide initiative, just like customer obsession is. So everybody in your organization should be focused on what is the customer experience happening, no matter what the customer is doing, and how easy is that, how effective is that, and what emotions are being generated, because all those things will then drive loyalty. So to elevate loyalty status, you really need to show how loyalty supports what your execs care about. So another key piece to this is when you're building this strategy, you need to define metrics in your loyalty measurement framework that can really show your C-suite how to achieve their goals and how loyalty is going to help them achieve their goals. So let's move on to specifically zero and first-party data strategies. What's really interesting, and this data gets stronger every year, one of the most common reasons that consumers join loyalty programs is discounts, but also to feel special. So you can see here that 68% of US consumers who belong to a loyalty program, they say that getting special offers that aren't available to just anybody is important to them. And they want those messages, offers, or promotions to be more relevant. That's why they join loyalty programs. But you can really only personalize and give that relevant experience to consumers you both recognize and understand. And we have a data problem today that's getting bigger, data deprecation. So we have the increasing privacy regulations across the world. There's some device firms that are blocking ad tracking software. And of course, as we've mentioned, the eventual loss of the third-party cookie. And so marketers are actually losing access to the data they've been using for years to target their customers and do their best at personalization. So what do we do? Well, we use loyalty programs to collect personal data. This is where loyalty programs really are effective. They can enable safe and accurate data collection of both first-party data and what Forrester calls zero-party data. So let me just explain to you a little bit about the types of data, at least how Forrester defines them. We define 4 different types of data. And you can see, the third-party data is always inferred. We usually get this data from some observations like a device ID or purchase preferences, things like that. Second-party data is actually first-party data that's purchased from somebody else. And then first-party data is data that customers give because they sort of have to. They have to give their mailing address if they're buying something from you that they want shipped to them, right? And so First-party data is very accurate because the customer is giving it to you. In addition, zero-party data is accurate. And zero-party data is where you actually get consumers to willingly share their data proactively. And this happens often through surveys and different ways, and I'll talk about those in a minute. But these are the four types of data, and what we're seeing is that third-party data is really going away. And in the end, to me, that's not terribly awful, because it's not as accurate as anything else that you can get. So we know that 37% of US online adults and Australian online adults and 40% of UK adults say that they won't share personal information for anything with a brand. Now, they say that, but they actually do share it. But those, the other 2/3 of the folks are shown here, and what they will share it for, as you can see, it's a combination of both cash rewards. So on the left, we've got these three things that are sort of financial values, and cash rewards, loyalty program points, free products, samples. But also becoming much more important is also what we call experiential rewards. And this is things like better customer service or ad-free content, even early access to new products. So consumers are becoming more and more willing to share their personal information proactively if they're getting some sort of value out of it, whether it's better personalization or whether it's one of these pieces of value. So now I'm going to turn it over to Tamara to talk about some examples that Epsilon has.
Thank you, Mary. So I completely agree with you in terms of first and foremost, it's really all about making sure the value exchange is important and valuable for the consumer, right? Because if I'm going to trust you, which as a brand and to with my personal data, which is paramount to any sort of loyalty initiative, trust and transparency are first and foremost. I want to get something in return for giving you that permission, giving you permission to use my data. So this is one of the really cool examples on how that's being used, but also layering in gamification and some fun, right? So for instance, Blazing Rewards with Buffalo Wild Wings, that's a great fun environment. They have a reward program. And one of the things that they do is they actually give people additional points. So tell us what your favorite team is from a sports perspective. And then what they do is they'll get points for that from a consumer standpoint, but then also they use that data to give you more relevant messages or offers that are unique to, the teams that you might be passionate about, right? So this particular example is the Alabama-Ohio State game, and it was a special deal that they're running for Ohio and Alabama fans. So I think this is a great example of how you can take that, bring the zero-party data together with personalization, but also in a fun, gamified way, all in a very permission-based sort of environment. I think we got the next slide. There we go.
Great. So let's talk about the steps you have to take to get started collecting both first-party and zero-party data. When you're specifically asking for zero-party data, the first rule is collect only the data that you will use. You're wasting your time and your customer's time if you ask for more. So if you don't sell pet products, and it's not important to you for any reason, there's no reason you would use whether a consumer has a pet or not in your messaging to them, then don't ask them about the pet, because they are going to recognize when you're using the data they've given you. And, in general, they'll be pleased with that if you use it in the right way. But don't ask them for more than you need, because that will turn them off. Second rule is to use the data then to deliver relevance. So you have to make the best use of the information you've collected. You send this personalized offer based on the information you have about them, and then measure that customer sentiment and track the results. Stop sending generic offers. You really want to keep your customers' attention. So make sure that your marketing organization is not siloed in the way that so the loyalty marketers will be sending some offers and the traditional marketers will be sending other offers. The last thing I want as a consumer is to get one personalized offer for something through the loyalty program and then get a similar offer maybe from another about another product or something. But it's going to confuse me and I'm going to say, well, this brand doesn't really know me. And it's important that they know me. I'm giving them information, they should know me. So the third piece of this is really rewarding the customer with some value. And whether it's immediate value, like giving them points for the information you collect, or value that is delivered later, like a great product recommendation with a free sample, you have to make sure you give them something. Consumers who don't see the results from the information they share, they'll stop responding and may even drop you as a brand. Okay, so let's move into loyalty program gamification, because this is one of the great ways to collect data. We asked 4,500 U.S. online adults late last year about whether they are a gamer or not, and 76% said yes. Now, this does skew by age. Between 18 and 29, it's 95% say they are. In the 30s, it's 91%, and it goes down from there. By the time you're 60, it's 53%. But gamers, and I don't consider myself a gamer, but I will play online games. I don't play Warriors and Warlords or whatever those games are. But I like to play a little game that a brand may send me. It's important to know that consumers like games, right? And games can actually help you drive behaviors. So you can take results from specific activities, and you can get results from specific activities really designed to drive behavior. So if you are Starbucks and you want to drive people to buy more a particular kind of coffee, then you offer those Starbucks stars, or you offer a pass to a game they have going on, and you get one pass for every purchase you make of a particular thing. So you can actually drive specific results or specific activities. And all of this improves your customer engagement. And what's important is to keep the customer engaged on a regular basis. You don't want them to forget about you. We know that when the pandemic started, there were still a lot of businesses that weren't really digitally transformed. They could not service their customers. They couldn't sell them products when the stores were closed. And the brands that succeeded through the pandemic are those that were able to maintain engagement with their customers. And then all this will lead to improved both emotional and behavioral loyalty. You'll get them to feel positively towards the brand. They may feel appreciated or valued. Those are really important emotions, and they'll be buying more, or at least interacting with your brand, which is improving the engagement, and that's all good news. So I think we have some more examples, Tamara.
Yeah, so Coming back to Buffalo Wild Wings, they do a number of really fun things, or specifically around gamification, right? So where it's, this is an example of a partnership they have with BetMGM, and it's partially with you download the app, you become a member in the program, and you're able to play all of these different fun games, win prizes, and things of that nature. And it does a really cool thing from a consumer standpoint. Obviously, it's making the experience more fun, but also it's helping them from a business standpoint to drive traffic into their stores in certain hours. So for instance, you see an example here of an upcoming quiz that they have around happy hour, as well as some items around some evening opportunities. So, it helps with the day part. It makes things fun and exciting. It certainly resonates with the brand, and it certainly, and motivates enrollment as well, because it makes the loyalty experience more than just about discounts, which of course are important, but also more about those rewarding gamified experiences and an increase in the value exchange, as you talked before too. So it's another great example.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Whoops, and there's Kellogg's. Tell us about that.
Sorry, technical issues. So CPG, story of the day. Consumer packaged goods are actually really unique in the respect that they don't have those traditional direct-to-consumer relationships, right? So if you're talking about, having those direct relationships and actually being able to, capture data and leverage data to drive more meaningful relationships, they don't typically or inherently have that. So traditionally, they've had to really think outside of the box. And how do you establish those direct-to-consumer relationships? And I would say Kellogg's is one of the CPGs that's been longer in this game around, really helping understand those relationships. And, speaking of the pandemic, they really use that as an opportunity to reimagine what that could look like and how they could provide more value to their members and to their future consumers, specifically when the pandemic changed so many different things in terms of what was valued and what was needed, and just helping instill that trust, going forward, but driving personalization. So actually in January of this year, they just completely relaunched a reimagined program for Kellogg's Family Rewards. And we're going to show you a quick video of what that looks like.
The new KFR is all about the food you love, loving you back. It's how you get awesome rewards, offers, and cool deals. It's easy, simple, and fun. Here's how it all works. Hey, you're here. You're already logged in. No need for a new email or password. You're all set. Let's go. Check out the huge variety of activities to start with. Uploading receipts, taking polls or quizzes, there's tons of fun options. Whatever activity you pick, you'll get a token for completing it. That brings us to the coolest part of the new KFR. Monthly tokens bring monthly prizes. What you do equals what you get. How's that for rewarding? Just 5 tokens a month is all it takes. Plus, every token comes with a sweeps entry. Each month brings a new chance to score tokens and awesome prizes and rewards. Stop by your activities page to see all the fun opportunities. New activities, special offers, and limited edition rewards are always popping up. And when you succeed, your biggest fans will cheer you on. Here's the most important part. Have fun. The new KFR is the easiest way to up the fun and get the rewards you deserve. You love the foods we make, so we're loving you right back. Let's do this.
Thank you. Yeah. So what's really exciting about that is that it was completely a reimagined program that, is now really about, being fun, simple, easy, and rewarding, and providing those rewards, much faster than before. So really addressing more modern consumer value and needs coming out of the pandemic, and in having deeper, inspiring, more, permission-based marketing and more personalization going forward. So it's really exciting to see this particular program out there, because it is certainly much, much different than a lot of other loyalty initiatives that are currently out there.
Yes, it is, and it's really exciting. Even in the past, it was even shown in the video, a snack personality quiz from Kellogg's, and I remember personally taking it. They not only gave me 500 points in the program at that time for filling out the quiz, but they asked me fun questions like, do I like crunchy or soft snacks? Do I like salty or do I like sweet? And when I answered those, they came up with a personalized recommendation, a set of snacks that fell into my categories. So I got two pieces of value there. I got the points, but I also got real personalized, these are the snacks that you might want to try. I'm loving what Kellogg's is doing.
Great, me too.
Okay, so let's move on to talking about measuring and proving the ROI of loyalty. And we're bringing this up primarily because there's a real benefit to collecting zero and first-party data in your ROI. So these are the key elements of a business case for loyalty. And Forrester has a formula called the total economic impact, or TEI, that we do. And we actually have a business case published if you're a Forrester client that you can get access to. But it categorizes the elements into three groups: the benefits, the costs, the flexibility. And then the fourth group there are risks associated with anything you do. So let's dig into those a little bit. The first thing is to quantify all the potential contributions of a loyalty program. So this isn't just marketing. These are contributions across your organization. So you have to get input and participation from all customer-facing departments in the organization, including customer service, including customer experience, to really be effective. And these then these relate to initiatives that span really across the customer life cycle. And they yield outcomes like retention, enrichment, and advocacy, which are the outcomes you're primarily looking for with loyalty. The next piece is to then, account for all your costs and benefits. So there are savings that you're going to find with loyalty. You can be more efficient with your marketing. You can drive desired member behaviors. So that's a benefit that you're going to get from that. And then your costs are certainly the cost of technology, adoption, testing, and implementation. And then you have your ongoing operations and maintenance. And that includes your marketers that are driving your loyalty programs, the cost of the campaigns, et cetera. And then finally, you need to assess risk. And so this is where marketers have to think beyond just their direct costs and benefits when they consider investments in loyalty programs. So, if you're just implementing a loyalty technology, how long is it going to take? What happens if that implementation slips? Will the organization actually take full advantage of the solution and the insights it generates? These are all kinds of risks that you have to measure and estimate. We apply a percentage of risk against all of this. So with all that estimated, you can build a spreadsheet to show your revenue plus your savings minus your costs, and then times a risk factor. But why I'm really bringing this up is that when you collect zero and first-party data, you can actually look at some savings in the marketing efficiency. One area is certainly looking at the cost of purchasing third-party data and second-party data. You can reduce that cost dramatically if you're collecting more accurate first and zero-party data. So, we have estimated a big savings as a result of collecting the better data. And there are also coming to the forefront, I don't have data on this yet, but we do believe that you'll get better efficiencies with your advertising. When you know your customers better, you can target them more effectively, you can spend more carefully, and then certainly your revenue should improve if you're doing this right and you're getting better results from your personalized offers. So there's a lot of good reasons to be focused on your data strategy. And I've talked about loyalty is really an outcome, and the traditional three outcomes that we have talked about are retention, enrichment, and advocacy. But we're really expanding the outcomes now of customer loyalty to both data and acquisition. In the past, acquisition has been in the top 10 of objectives for brands, but really between number 6 and 10. It's now moving into the top 5 because brands are looking at loyalty not only to acquire customers into their loyalty program, but they're looking at their efforts behind loyalty to actually acquire customers to the brand. And this happens obviously through advocacy, but it also happens through just better experiences. And, even when they're shopping, having an experience that draws the customer in, there's a big opportunity to generate a loyal customer right at the beginning of the customer life cycle. So, there are some final steps I'll go through just as a reminder of the things we've talked about. The first is the key takeaway here is when you get these insights, you need to leverage them across the organization. Remember, it's an enterprise-wide initiative. So work beyond your silos. Operate as one marketing team, not one for loyalty members and one for this product line and that product line. You really need to integrate your communication so you are communicating clearly to both your loyalty members and your non-loyalty members. So this is what we've just talked about, using the insights across your company. And then you want to simplify the customer experience. So make sure from the time they initially look at your website or they see an ad or they walk into your store that the experience is something that draws them in and it really is easy and ideally fun. So, you want to make an experience that is effective, the consumer can get done what they want to get done, and you want it to be easy. So, making them copy and paste coupon codes that are long and terrible, when they're trying to check out online is not an easy experience. You want to look at everything you do and simplify and also make consistent those experiences. The third thing is to remember that loyalty is a two-way street. So actually ensure that the value exchange is appropriate for both the customer and the brand. You certainly don't want to be giving away things to your customers, but you need to offer value to them, and you need to make sure that it's something that you can afford and that in the long run is profitable to you. And then finally, embed CX in everything you do across loyalty and the entire customer lifecycle. So everybody in your organization should be thinking about CX. When they change a process about, they install a new POS system, make sure that you've tested it and that it's clean and clear and it's easy and you've gotten rid of the bugs. The last thing you want to do is make it hard for a customer to pay you. But everybody in the organization is somehow related, is somehow related to CX because everybody in some way has a stake in that. So just think about CX across your organization and think about it across all your loyalty initiatives. And with that, we are ready for Q&A.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that presentation. Really appreciate it, Mary and Tamara, for all those excellent insights. And we learned a lot about this today. So we have a few more minutes left. So we can actually take some questions from the audience. So the first one we have here is, once the zero or first party data is collected, what do you see as brands' biggest challenges for using it?
You want to go, Tamara, or do you want me to?
You can go first and then I'll go next. How about that?
Okay. Well, I think, one of the biggest challenges is figuring out how to use it. So, if you sell food and you learn that your customer is a vegan, then obviously you don't want to send them offers for grass-fed beef, right? They're not going to be interested in that. So taking the information, turning it into insights, and then using it appropriately without being creepy. So if you get too deep, or if you use data that you haven't gotten directly from the customer, it may be accurate, it may not be accurate. But you can get to the point where you're creepy, where the customer wonders, how did you find that out? So, you want to be clear about what you're collecting and then use it in the most effective way possible. Did you want to add to that, Tamara?
Yeah, I agree. I would say, of course, being transparent about what the data you're collecting and what you're using it for is certainly key in building that trust. But also making sure that the data is accurate, right? So, you want to make sure that it's actually, cleaned and normalized, stored, analyzed, and deployed in a consistent way. Because just like any I guess house or to that point, a database could very easily get messy too. So just making sure it's accurate, and also being used and stored and protected in a really secure way, and used in the way that you're allowed to use it based on whatever permissions and privacy you have, or privacy agreements you have with your consumers, for sure. But I think the cleanliness and the being able to store it in a secure way is very, very important as well. So you got to start with the clean house, right? And then you can kind of go in there.
Great. Just a quick question from the audience. Mary, I wonder if you could define for someone listening what CX is.
Oh, sure. Apologies. CX is customer experience. So we use that as the acronym because it's too many syllables.
Okay, great. We have another question that I can take here. How do you address consumers who say brands are asking for too much data? Mary, do you want to?
Yeah, great question. The best way to address it is give the customer an opt-out. So if you're a fashion brand and you're sending them a little game where you have, say, 4 fashion styles, and you say, pick the one that you're most comfortable in. So I'm a jeans and sweatshirt person, and I know Tamara likes to wear evening gowns because she goes to a lot of balls. And, but I may choose to click on one of those, but there also should be a clear opt-out. I can close this window. I don't have to answer the question. The best way to respond is really explain that you're using the data to personalize offers to them and prove that by sending them real good offers, but also give them a chance to just not answer. They don't have to fill out the survey. They don't have to answer your questions. Do you agree, Tamara?
Absolutely. I don't know that I have much more to add than that. I think at the end of the day, it's a choice. It's a choice to provide certain data, right? And if they're asking for too much data, the consumer doesn't have to provide that. But to that point, I think it's key if you are going to ask them for personal information. Obviously, as a brand, you are held to certain standards of making sure it's secure, it's in a private area, and then that you're giving that some value in exchange for that rather than just, using the data. So, that kind of gets into, why loyalty programs or reward programs are so powerful to help with these initiatives, because the consumers are getting something in exchange for it, especially now with, I don't know if everybody saw, but inflation went up. I think it's 8.5% this morning. I saw briefly, but to that point, like discounts and people are looking for savings even more so now. So, and being able to target, personalized savings based on what your specific needs are or your specific, asks as a consumer to that brand, I think would be certainly powerful.
And I think the other piece of this is having a customer preference center. So a place where the customer can actually tell you what their preferences are. Do not only preferences like communicate with me by text versus email or never call me, or whatever, but also, give them an opportunity to change any data that's in there, update their address, update, the fact that they had another child, or that they've just switched to being a pescatarian or, whatever. Give them control over their data, and they'll feel better about your collecting it because they are in control.
Exactly.
The next question we have, what are some other industry examples of gamification?
Wow. I think we have actually a really great article. I think we could probably drop that in the chat here. We recently just have an article about gamification, specifically talking about the latest Wordle craze. I don't know if anyone plays Wordle, but there's been a lot of interesting nuggets that we could probably glean out of that, as well as just I think gamification takes on a whole. There's a lot of different angles to gamification. I think Wordle's super interesting to take a look at. So I think we're going to drop that link in the chat if anybody wanted to go read that. But I know we covered a number of them today too. Mary, did you have any other ones that you want to talk about?
Yeah, Red Bull did an interesting thing with the racing, the Formula One racing, which is very big in certain groups. And they actually developed a partnership with Honda. And so they created a website around for loyal members around the racing. And as a member, I could get access to information about the cars, information about the drivers, certainly access about the races. And then also, if I were able to get to a race, I might get a tour of a garage. I might get access to their racing lounge. But they also created a game, a racing game, that you didn't get access to until you had accumulated a certain number of points. So the more loyal you got, or the more points you collected, the closer you would get to actually getting access to this game. So it was very exclusive, but it was also something that a lot of people were driven to do. So that's another example of gamification.
Great, thank you. A couple more minutes left, so we can take a few more. If someone wants to learn more about these topics, can the both of you provide any resources?
Yeah. Mary, I don't know if you wanted to go first, but I know I think we're going to drop a link in there about gamification. That was something we just wrote about at Epsilon, and what that means to loyalty. So that might be a really good one. We have actually also a guide that we recently published around 6 ways to personalize the loyalty experience. So I think we could probably drop that in there as well. Mary, I know you're working on a lot of really great research in this area too, so maybe you want to share.
I am, but I'm sensitive because to access our research, you need to be a Forrester client, which I'm sure all of you aren't, although you ought to be. But there is a place you can go, forrester.com/blogs. Those blogs are open for anyone to read, and all the analysts publish regularly. So you can just search for loyalty in that, and you'll find some of my blogs as well, and anybody can read those.
Great, thank you. Here's another question. Any suggestions on how to gain alignment across the company to support and leverage loyalty programs fully? That's a good one. Mary, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes. So this is where it's really important to get a sponsor on your C-suite. You need to show the business case, and you need to show examples of how loyalty can support not just marketing goals, but the organization's goals. So if the enterprise, certainly they want to increase revenues, doesn't everybody? But, so how does loyalty specifically drive you to increase revenues? But making your loyalty goals align with your overall business goals is key here. And storytelling is really important, providing data in a way that is clear and makes the connections. But once you get a C-suite sponsor or advocate, then it makes it easier. That person can help drive the alignment across the company.
Yeah, and I'll just add, I think it's really important to start with why you want to do loyalty, right? Why is it important, and why is it important to your business? And really kind of having a solid vision statement around what that is, that can then be shared across the organization by that executive, right? So if you're going to get an executive champion, they're going to need your help to really kind of help, evangelize, if you will, the power of why a loyalty program would be good for your business. Because in addition to obviously the digital marketing and transformation pieces, that there's a whole, component about how does it enable a better and stronger culture around certain values you're trying to instill, or how can you leverage that in brand marketing, or how could you even bring that throughout the community and help, from a public relations standpoint for your brand too. So, it really is kind of a holistic piece. The digital transformation is certainly important, but loyalty, holistically, and I know, Mary, you touched on a little bit earlier about, the culture of loyalty. It could be a much bigger thing. So kind of evangelizing that and getting the entire organization to understand why you want to do it and what it could be, and then getting them on track to really kind of help design and reimagine what loyalty could be for your company. So it's exactly. A long process, but it's very rewarding.
Right. And we talk about, we talk about never going into loyalty, into a program without having first built a strategy. And in that strategy is what you want to achieve from it. And you may or may not find that you actually want a program. You may have a strategy like Apple doesn't have a loyalty program, they have a strategy, and the way they build their products is the way they get people to be loyal and line up outside their door when there's a new iPhone. Chewy.com has initiatives, no points program, no structured program, but they have initiatives like sending you a handwritten note, or they help you if your pet dies and you call and you say you want to return the dog food. They say, we'll refund you, but go donate that food to a local shelter, right? So there's a whole spectrum between strategies and actual programs. But Tamara is right. You've got to start with, what are you trying to achieve, and how do you want to achieve that?
Wonderful. Well, I think that's a great note to end on. We're out of time now, but thank you so much to our amazing presenters. Thank you to Epsilon and Forrester. Once again, thank you to all the attendees. We really appreciate you taking the time today. We know you're busy and have a lot to do, but we're really excited that we were able to present this to you today. We appreciate you taking the time, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks. Bye-bye now.
Bye.